What should we do tonight? You could just put that on the podcast.
Oh, we will. I think we're just gonna not like record and just do a just chill and chat and say whatever the fuck we want, and that's the show. I think it'll be fine.
That's the show. Yay.
That'll be fine too.
Yay. I really dig the Santa mustache on you. It's great.
Do you really? Wow.
It is. It's very fun.
It's like looking into the future.
Okay, I want to ramble about something relationship wise.
Should I keep my white mustache or not before you go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So I just want to, sorry, I got distracted because I just saw like the hint of a message I don't want to read. So that's unrelated, also dating. But anyway, let's go back to the original thing I was gonna not rant about, but talk about. I'm trying to work through these thoughts about love and connection and expectations, right? Mostly expectations. And so like, I think we've talked about this, but like one time, for example, I told a partner of mine that I loved him. And before I did it, like I knew it was going to freak him out. I never waited a year to tell anybody I loved them before this guy, but I knew it was going to freak him out. And so when I told him I loved him, I said, hey, so I'm going to tell you something. And I just want you to know that it doesn't mean I want to change anything. I don't want to like move in with you. I'm not looking to marry you. Like, I mean, if that's something you want down the line, I guess we could talk about it, but I'm not looking for that. And like, I'm not looking for anything to change between us whatsoever. I love everything about this. I just want you to know that I love you. No pressure. I'm not looking to escalate things. I just want you to know that I love you. And he was like, oh my gosh, I love you too. And thank you for saying it that way. That was amazing. Like that really gave me so much relief. And like, I love that because sometimes love really comes with like this expectation that things are going to escalate. And, I had another partner who like, basically was like, hey, I got kind of burned, and I'm having a rough time. Like, I just I don't want this to affect you, that I'm not, diving in deep so fast. And I was like, hey, here's the thing. I'm wading into this with care and attention, and it feels like intention, and it feels like you are too. And every time I spend time with you, I enjoy it even more, and I'm having a wonderful time. That feels mutual. And he's like, yeah, it is. Thank you for expressing that so eloquently. Like, there's no reason. I just think if you're a loving person, if you're in love, like, there's no reason to expect that love has to look like all other love does, right? And there's no reason to make people move faster or slower than they want to move. And if you're a little faster than someone else, it's not a big deal. It's sort of like eating, right? Oh, this is the analogy I want to start this post about. I want to write about this, and I couldn't figure out where to go. And now I have it. It's going to be, right? This poor receipt has so many notes on it. I'm going to write, okay, so meal finishing, pace. Okay, great. That's a good note for myself. So, I keep breaking this pen. My point is, I had a roommate once years ago who used to say that it's gracious to pay attention to the pace of the other people eating around you and pace yourself around the other people with whom you're eating. Not to say like if the person in front of you like scarfs down their food that you should too, but that you eat at like a normal pace. And if you see that the person in front of you is eating more slowly, slow down a little bit and enjoy the time with them and pace it so that you finish around the same time. And I think that's really lovely. And I think it's a really good analogy for loving people. If you start to feel that your partner is a bit slower than you and you're able to slow it down a little bit and match their speed, I think that's a very loving gift, to be very present, very conscious, and giving in the way that you just meet your partner's rhythm, and you meet them where they are instead of pushing them faster than they need to go.
I think that's profound, and I like it.
Thank you.
I think
Thank you
a lot
for
of
letting me ramble.
I think a lot of relationships end
Look at
up
that. We've had a show. Woo.
end up needing that. You know what I mean?
You could just put that on the podcast.
Oh, we will. I think we're just gonna not like record and just do a just chill and chat and say whatever the fuck we want, and that's the show. I think it'll be fine.
That's the show. Yay.
That'll be fine too.
Yay. I really dig the Santa mustache on you. It's great.
Do you really? Wow.
It is. It's very fun.
It's like looking into the future. At least this part of my face in the future. Oh, whoa. But not gonna turn my hair white.
See, in the future, your eyesight is not as good, so you hit your mic. It's like right? you're really in character. Yeah. I love this.
Yep. I'm a crotchety old man, but I still can get down. And so I think that's really important, because when I look back at different everythings, relationships, romantic or non, it's valid. My wife even always said like how fast I am too, by the way. But I think there was this one time. So one of our first dates, this is way before we were engaged or anything. This is when it was really bad, where we didn't even speak each other's language that well at all, right?
Oh my God.
And we decided to drive across America from Seattle down to San Diego. Not in one day, but we would stop along the way. Went to Yosemite. We went to down at San Diego Zoo, hung out there, then went back up to LA, met some friends. And so we did a whole West Coast all the way down and back up. And I remember, so again, we're like a new couple, and as we're driving along, it's the first drive is really long. We were going to stop near Yosemite. So it was probably like a good, I can't remember, 10 to 12 hour drive or something like that. I can't remember, something like that.
I have no idea. I'm going, Monster J, if you're anywhere around here, this is for your birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday, Monster J.
Happy birthday, Monster J.
So I was driving down, and it was really quiet. And there was no talking, and it started getting that uncomfortable, especially in a new relationship-ish thing. And I was like, this is going to be a disaster. This whole trip, we were going to be a week and a half on a long road trip. And I'm like, fuck. But then I realized, I sat back and said,
that is a bit fast.
well, it's been hours of silence in the car. You know what I mean?
Ooh, okay.
Because again, it's a 10 hour to the first thing. And I'm like, oh, is this a disaster? This is going to be terrible if it's 10 hours of driving in silence with this, with two people who don't speak their home native language fluently. Because again, we were really not I wasn't that good at Japanese yet, and she wasn't that good at English. And but that was kind of the big stepping stones or milestones of our relationship, that I'm like, you know what? Are we enjoying our time together? And and it was helpful later that it was proven to be so. She didn't mind the silence either, and she liked the fact that we can just sit and enjoy the feel of a road trip with the landscapes going by and being in touch while watching just the landscapes and nature and driving through America. And it was one of those times where it's I love that about our relationship, that we both can kind of slow down and not have to kind of control the pace or speed up. And I that was one thing. I didn't put it that way. I just thought it was amazing. I was like, this is cool that there's none of that pressure that it can match closer to expectations of well, we're supposed to be a good couple. Why aren't we talking? It's oh no, it has nothing to do with that. Good couples can just chill. So yeah, I like that. That was my
originally my thought on this was going to be real love asks for nothing, but that's so not true, because people invest in each other all the time in real love. It's more no expectations, or
just being there is the value.
It's more about awareness. It's more about just aware. Being aware and in your connection.
For me personally, it's definitely lack of judgment. Because
Oh,
in
sure.
my old in my high
Maybe
school
lack of
in high
assumptions.
school, I mean, and college days, assumptions, yeah, it's judgment of not them only of what's right. Like, oh, a good couple wouldn't like just be like uncomfortable to talk about anything, and it wasn't uncomfortable. We were just quiet. But again, like, there's that judgment of the circumstances or the situation. There's the judgment of like, are we supposed, like of anything. And I think that's where it is, where she is always good at that. Where I guess it's just like the reverse of it. Instead of looking at the negative, is like thinking well upon each other, right? We don't.
I really like your wife, and I've never met her
Yeah,
or even talked to her. I
I love
really
her.
like your wife. I know. I really like her because I really like you. You're like one of my best friends, and she treats you so well.
That's why I married her.
Good girl.
It's hard to find
Good
people who.
woman.
I think that's it. Treating you well, and again, I
Great
think thinking.
woman.
I've been writing this down too. A note for something I want to write about too is like thinking well on someone. Like
Mm,
that turning of it is the problem. I think with that, but
mm.
it always comes from that judgment
Positive
and pride.
assumptions.
Yeah, like they mean well. They want to do
Yeah.
well, but I mean, we all have been in a situation where we mean well, and we want the best for ourselves and others and our friends or people that we're around and that we come in contact with, but it doesn't work out that way sometimes. And I do think it comes, but partially from that too, where it's like, for example, I could think like anything about you right now. I was trying to think of, it's hard because it's hard thinking about an example when you're awesome and here.
Well,
But
no, I'm always late for this show.
oh, okay, there you
Here,
go.
go with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Go with
So
that. You
so
you could get annoyed with that.
so I could say, yeah, if I was thinking not well of Alice here, I could say, hey, she's always late, and this is going to be like she obviously really doesn't care or isn't like in
She
the.
disrespects me.
Yeah, yeah, or like she's a liar because she keeps saying she's going to
Mm.
be on time, right? And it's like she's actually lying the whole time. And then you can extrapolate that to other things. What else is she lying about, right? So when you're not thinking well of anybody, all it takes is one little thing, and it could be not even a mistake or a quirk. It could be that, oh, wait a second, how about let's look at the other side. Thinking well of someone, she's busy as fuck. So and she's
Yeah,
very open. She's very open with
she
what
just
she's
spent the
doing.
last 7 days time hopping.
Exactly. So she's very open with what she's doing. So like I could say, you know what? I'll think well of this person as I often do, and should say, you know what? And then yeah, but if you go down that path of like stopping to think well of someone, it's dangerous on any front. So yeah, I think that's it too, where my wife has been consistent with that all the time. Like
She
yeah.
thinks well of you.
Yeah, I think
I think it's important. Why would you, if you're going to assume anything, assume the best?
yeah, the kindest people I've met, and it's sad. This is the part of it's difficult because I'm thinking of my sister right now, the mistress of
Oh, I love
ceremonies.
her. I love her.
She
She's the best.
thinks well of me too, very consistently, and that's why we're still close. But
And vice versa.
yeah, definitely. I do think though the propensity of that of being that type, which is awesome, but they tend to internalize it and think what not well of themselves more. Where it's like if there is anything that they like, some other people might say something negative to me. Like for example, if we'll just reverse it, and it's like if I was always late or something, and then my sister said, "Hey, what the fuck?" She would, or is thinking that she wouldn't do that. She would internalize it and say, "This is something I did," right? Like she will rarely like say something negative to me about what I may be doing, right? And I think that is sad for me to see too, because what are your thoughts on that? Because I do see that a lot of people, these people aren't. No one's perfect. They're not angels. They're friends and lovers and all sorts of things. So I do think that I noticed that I have that problem with my wife too. Although I think I match well because I do the same thing. I think that's probably why me and my wife match well. Where it's like I want to take responsibility for a lot of those times too. Where it's like I'm so like for infertility stuff, it's always a battle of it's my fault. No, it's my fault. No, it's my fault. No, it's my fault. Right? Because we don't want to
What if it's
judge.
no one's fault?
Exactly. But I'm saying that like the people who have that lack of judgment of others tend to want to put it towards themselves, which is interesting. I mean, that's what I'm noticing. I think.
We'll cut it out.
Well, what if we cut it out, it leaks out into others where it's like, oh, I do think that's like pretty kind.
No. I think no judgment of any kind at all.
You can't be perfect.
No discernment. There's
No,
a
I know.
difference. there's a big difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment carries with it shame.
Yeah.
And I love Brene Brown. She's like one of my favorite thought leaders. And she talks about shame being, so guilt is like, I did something that I don't like, or that I want to do differently, or that I did wrong, right? Guilt is like, oh, I wish I hadn't done it that way, right? Shame is, I'm a bad person because I did it that way. Shame is mea culpa, beating yourself up over the thing that, you wish hadn't happened that way. It's not bad to say, oh, well, we'll go back to the infertility, right? Say I'm having a problem conceiving, right? And I'm like, oh, I waited too long, I'm too old, my eggs have dried up, I can't do it now. And if I go, well, that I wish it weren't this way, but it is this way. Well, I wish I hadn't waited that long. Okay, then that's discernment, and you can let go of that. But if you start to attach to it, I'm a bad person, or I'm stupid, or it's my fault, I hurt my family, I did this, I'm a bad person because I waited too long, then I'm putting shame onto something that doesn't belong there.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think that I do. Like, I mean, but I do think it's almost like a perfect world type of situation where I think in that it needs easing in. Like what do you mean? It's been, speaking as someone who does that, it's been hardwired so tightly that it needs a long easing process, and jumping ahead to that finish is difficult. I agree with it. Like, that is the goal of the like, but it's like, that's kind of why I wrote the book on pride, is kind of like that, where it's like, oh, it needs some sort of middle, like there's steps to it. And I think, and it's so difficult because everybody has it in different ways. Right. So I think that it's kind of like that, where it's hard to find that spot. I mean, to me, I almost believe it's almost impossible to do it that perfect, because we're all going to make mistakes. So it would be like, I think
you can't shame yourself for it.
No, I know the key is like forgiving yourself for that. I think it's more like that line, instead of saying don't do it. Like it's very difficult to try to say I'm going to stop doing something that I've been trained to do my whole life, or that
I think the first key is recognition.
Yes.
To stop and go, oh, this isn't guilt, this is shame. I feel that. I see that what I'm reacting to myself with right now is not discernment, this is judgment. And just to recognize it is the first step.
Here's a question though, because is there really a problem with being ashamed of doing something wrong? And I think the problem is analyzing something as something wrong, and it's not. I think that is the problem. But there is a good thing in actually saying, if you did something wrong, it'd be better that you feel ashamed for it than just saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to keep doing these wrong things. Or like, that wasn't wrong, even though it was like something that really hurt yourself or others. You know what I mean?
You have a hit and run accident, and you hit somebody with your car and you run away from it, right?
Okay.
And guilt makes you go, that was a terrible thing. I feel terrible for that family. I really should not have run away. I need to let go, and I need to fix this situation and own up to what I did. And you can go into all of that with, I mean, this is great. Like, we're talking Buddha level here, right?
Yeah.
Like beyond Buddha level, we're talking about like pure enlightenment. This person says, you know what? I was wrong to do this. I'm going to go in. I'm going to let the cops know that I did this, and I'm going to apologize to the family. And if anybody asks you, like, do you regret that you did that? Yes, I regret that I did that. I wish that never happened. But if every single day for the rest of your life,
that's bad,
you are beating yourself up for the terrible thing that happened.
So you would say that was shame. I'd say that's regret, though.
That's what shame. No. No,
Because
you can regret something. You can say like, oh, I wish
okay,
that hadn't
interesting.
happened. I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to change my ways and do something different. You can do that in discernment without judgment.
Yeah.
The judgment and the shame is the like, you're a bad person. You're
Yeah, that's
horrible.
not good.
You are bad. Like it's not you did a bad thing. You did a bad thing. That can be discernment.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay. That's fascinating with the
Oh, I
judgment and
stole
discernment.
this thing. I shouldn't
Oh,
have
judgment
stolen
and
that. I'm going to return it to the store. Yeah. I really fucked over this partner. I'm going to apologize
you
to them.
to be
I'm going
honest,
to
I don't think you
whatever,
need to have to even I mean, it would be best. Like again, you said boodle level, which is what you're talking about, which is true. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
you don't
I
even
mean, if you run
need
over a person
to
with a
actually
car
yeah, that would be
and
good.
not, and you're
That I
not
mean, I'm
beating
talking about
yourself
like the
up
thing with
over it,
like making your
that's
friend
Buddha
bad. I mean,
level.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, no,
Oh
that's
yeah,
Buddha
not beating
level.
yourself up of it. Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean.
I would be
But
beating
like
myself up
but
so
like
hard if I ran over somebody in a car like that. Yeah, that's Buddha
yeah, and
level
didn't do
shit,
any. Yeah,
man.
and didn't even do anything. But I'm saying for like the other stuff or whatever you're talking about, like you stole a pencil or whatever, you know, from or
Okay, yeah,
pen
you
from a bank.
and if you feel bad enough to go and
Yeah,
return
yeah,
it,
yeah.
then you go
No,
back
but
and
even if
return
you
it.
no, I'm saying my point is that you don't even need the action and saying next time I'm not going to do it and see like and see if you improve or not, and then that's how I think you get over any shame or stuff like that, where it's like, oh, hey, I fucked up. That's okay. I don't think that's right. That's
Yeah.
what usually we think of like shame. That's the problem. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Why before when I was saying shame, that's what I was thinking. And you're right.
No.
If it's not that, that's great. Then yeah, shame is
This
pointless and
thing I
terrible.
did
Yeah,
is not right, or I
that's
wish I hadn't
discernment.
done this
Yeah, that makes
thing. That
sense.
is
Yeah, yeah.
discernment.
Moral
I am a
discernment. Yeah,
bad
yeah.
person. I'm a shithead. I'm a jerk. I'm so terrible. I don't deserve to live. That
Yeah. Okay.
mindset, that that's judgment.
Yeah.
That's shame.
Yeah, I think it's a interesting
And
difference.
if it
It needs to
and if you
be
keep beating
clear
yourself up over
in
something, it's
lessons.
definitely in there somewhere that you're going, I'm bad.
Oh
You're
yeah.
pointing that at yourself. If you keep beating yourself up about something, there's a part of
Ooh,
you that's saying, I'm not good.
I think
I'm bad for doing this.
I mean, we're not going obviously we're just chilling, but what came to my mind right now was exactly the theme of today's show, because that's what happens with masturbation for people. I
Okay.
think what you're saying, like
Oh, yeah.
I think, oh, I keep doing it, and then every time I do it, I beat myself up for it. And even
I'm going to go
Seinfeld, like
blind.
yeah, well, yeah, Seinfeld has a joke where it's like it's not masturbation, but it's like the sex with somebody, and she's like, she's too good for me. She's better than me. I need sex with depravity. Like I have to be better than her type of, or feel a little bit like she's not perfect, right? I have to have some. I have to be better at some things. She has to be better at other things or whatever. But it's like, oh, if she's too good, and it's kind of like that with like masturbation, where I think that judgment of that thing where we want like we have that shame or judgment, we want that in there somewhere, right? Like
Oh, it's bad because this should be with a person. I'm a bad person for doing
yeah,
this,
like
or
shame.
this should be my wife, or this should be blah.
It's like we got addicted to it.
I'm bad because I'm doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually the biggest problem. I don't have any problem with spirituality or religion. I think it helps some people. Sometimes it can be very useful. It can be very meaningful, and a path that people follow that I do not judge at all. I think spirituality, religion, wonderful things, wonderful tools if used properly. Unfortunately, a lot of religions teach shame
Oh yeah.
and teach, like, I actually unfortunately was taught that God would disown me if I had sex before marriage. So guess who didn't have sex before marriage?
Yeah.
And guess who married the wrong person? Not because he was a bad guy, but we were just a bad fit in every way, right?
And I gotta say, I've
So
read the
like,
Bible so many times that is not anywhere in there.
it's a lot of pain on both of us, you know?
God never said that.
Well, regardless,
Oh, I know.
the
People can attack me for that, but
of
go
what
ahead.
you think about the Bible,
Yeah.
regardless of any of that stuff, the point is, if anybody's telling you you're going to go to hell, or you're going to be punished,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to, you're a bad person, or you don't deserve love, that's the real one, right? We deprive ourselves of love when we're mad at ourselves for doing something that we didn't want to do, right? When we get mad at ourselves for cheating on our partners, for stealing the candy bar, for gaining the 5 pounds we didn't want to gain, for hurting our friend, for name your offense, right? When we get mad at ourselves, we start to deprive ourselves of love. We start to withhold love from ourselves. It's sort of like, parenting a child. In some places, some people believe that the best way to parent a child when they've done something wrong is to spank them, right? In some places, they believe that it's better to ground them, to withhold television, to put them in a timeout. Whatever your punishment style is, if you do it calmly and clearly, and you say to the child, this is why you're receiving this punishment. Do you understand? I still love you, right? If you don't withhold love from the child, if you don't tell them they're bad, right? Like, think about the way that we train dogs, right? If they do something, you call them a bad dog, right? For doing something wrong. Instead of saying, don't do that, you say a bad dog, right? And we do this shit with ourselves. We do this shit with our partners. We're constantly calling people and ourselves bad. We make people, we withdraw our love from ourselves and from other people in this way of trying to get people to behave themselves. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
We all make
If
mistakes.
you take away the shame and you take away the judgment and you just honestly have a conversation, you punishment is not a bad thing, but you have to do it in discernment and love so that you're not withholding love from yourselves and from others. Like, I'm convinced that that's not the way to go.
Allow me to
it does so much more harm.
Allow me
than
to
good.
riff for a while, because it really
Please.
is up. It's hitting me where I just made a recent Japanese book club with a friend of mine, and we're working on a book called The Courage to Be Disliked, and it's all like a lot of the lessons from that book is coming right up this alley to me right now. So The Courage to Be Disliked, I would recommend it. There's actually an English translation. I would recommend the audiobook because it's a fascinating way they made the book too. It's more of a show than a book, because it's like watching. So basically the story is this young man who is trying to find happiness in life and understand his way in life, hears about this philosopher, and he comes to challenge the philosopher. And so it's basically a conversation between the two and those two viewpoints for a couple days, going back and forth. And it's a really fascinating book. But there's two things that, whenever the philosopher says this is the type of philosophy that I go by, it's called Adlerian, and I really am interested in looking more into Adlerian psychology or philosophy, because it's fantastic with zigging when zagging, and it's kind of like down this line where it says like he says one of the focuses is just doing your tasks, and parenting is the kid's like, wait, for parents, like, wouldn't they want to like make sure that their kids do their homework, or make sure they do this and then do this, and like kind of the punishment thing that you're talking about in some ways? And he's like, no, you tell them you're supposed to do your homework, and I'm here for you, and I love you to help you if you need it, but you need to do that. That's your task. If I do your homework for you, it's not going to do anything good for you, right? Like if I do the kid, or even if I force them. He's like, oh, you don't even force the kid? He's like, no, because when the kid doesn't do their homework, they're screwed from school, and then they're going to get punished from other ways, because it's like, if you don't get good grades, this is what happens. You don't, and like, it's removing the I. You don't say, I have to do this. I love you because of, and it's going to do this anyway. He's saying, you just say, this is what's going to happen, and this is what, and the I is, I'm here for you, and I love you, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
I love that, man.
Where it's like,
that's good.
Where it's like, so the kid's going crazy because it's like, no, like, the only reason I did my homework is because my dad would get angry and hate and do this and punish me. And he's like, oh, well, there's that balance, right? It's like, yeah, he wanted to control and do the task for you, but there's no, he wants you to do the homework. And even in that philosophy, you want the kid to do their homework, but it's basically just saying, I'm the parent. I'm not supposed to do the homework. This is your task. And if you do it, this is what's going to happen. If not, this is what's going to happen. And you'll find out by not doing it, instead of saying you have to do it or you have to go in your room. It's like, no, whenever you don't do homework, this is what happens. And that's it. And you don't have to say like, and it's like kind of like saying, no child of mine will never do his homework. It's like, when you attach yourself, it's back to attachment again, or even expectations. Like you're my child. I love you. No child of mine. That's where it gets bad. Like, it's just like, no, tell them, let it happen, and stuff like that. So, and another thing he said was no praise, only encouragement. Like when you say like, you did such a good job on that, it's like, no, like you could say, thank you so much. I'm grateful to have you as this, or like, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy you did that. Thank you. That's more encouragement, gratefulness more than actually just saying like, you know, you did a great job wiping your ass that time. I'm glad you didn't piss on the sink. But I mean, you know, like, that's the extreme. But it was fascinating where, again, the kid coming up to the philosopher is pushing back on that, saying, wait, no praise? What the fuck? So anyway, there's a lot of fascinating things in the book. I would recommend it. Courage to be Disliked. But it lined up with what you were talking about there, I think, with the...
I really have this desire...
I'd recommend
when some partner of mine comes out of the bathroom at some point to just be like, you did a really great job wiping your ass.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Pulling these random extreme examples. But
that was pretty funny.
It would be fantastic.
Hey, Webster Games. I already ate more than enough frosting, but I ate a little more for you. I'm going to put this back down until if or MJ shows up. If she does not, the frosting is done for the evening because that's a lot of sugar. So here's a question. Is discipline something that should or needs to change on an individual basis? Well, sure. I mean, everybody's going to respond differently to different things, right? And you're going to try some things and probably some of them won't work. And yeah, but I agree with BK that, like, generally speaking, having intelligent conversations with people as though they're people and they understand things. I mean, like, look, a child may only be 6 years old and may have like limited logic, but they still have some logic. And if you talk to them like a person, they'll develop more logic as time goes on. And you give them reasons to be and reasons to do the things that they want to do in life. You know, I really wish somebody had a real conversation with me when I was a kid, because I've got this baby tooth over here that's really annoying as an adult. It interferes with the way I want my smile to be. Oh, it's still there. What's really annoying about it is if it falls out, there's an adult tooth sideways under the gum. So I can't just like put in another, you know, false tooth or something. There's nothing to screw it into. You can't do that. So if I ever have an emergency, I'm going to be toothless here and it's in the front. And if I were going to fix it now as an adult, right, I'm a singer. I can't just have some braces all of a sudden, right? So I would have to have this thing pulled down, the adult tooth surgically pulled down, and then braced with metal braces to fix the thing, right? And the longer I wait, the more the adult tooth decays, and this isn't really an option. So when I was 13, somebody gave me the decision to make. And my dentist kind of explained it to me, but she was basically like, hey, I know a 90-year-old who still has hers. So if you don't want to get rid of it, you don't have to. It's up to you. That was not an intelligent conversation. The intelligent conversation to have with me would have been, well, you're 13. Right now, your parents' insurance will cover this and your parents will pay for this. If you don't take care of this now, when you're older, here's the process that will have to happen. And if something falls out when you're older, you're not going to be able to fix it right away. So you're going to have this problem where you've got like an empty hole there and you're walking around with no tooth. Right now, you can fix it with braces. You're still going to be able to sing. You're still going to be able to do your job. You don't know how it'll interfere with you when you're older. I recommend that you do it now. Boy, I wish somebody had said that to me, but nobody did. And I made the vain choice of not getting it because I wanted to be vain. And I wanted to roll those dice on hoping that I'd be the 90-year-old with the baby tooth. Well, this is not the way to go.
I think we all would benefit from separating, or trying to figure out separating what is said out of care for you and instead of whatever you want. Because that's kind of what we were talking about before with like kids, where it's like, you wouldn't just say to the kid, yeah, do whatever you want. It's fine. I don't care. Right? Like, okay, yeah. Like, or like that person, they did it in the way that we kind of accept, saying, you know what, I met a 90-year-old who's like this, so do whatever you want. It'll be okay either way. It's like, that she said it in a way to make me happy. Not good, right? No, exactly. Where it's like, did they actually care about you? Because if it was, again, if they actually said,
clearly not
care about you is, what if it was my own child or if it was myself? Like if it was myself at age 13 or if it was my own child, what would I say? And it would be something like that, what you just said at the end, where it's like, well, think of it this way and think of it that way, and then do what you want. But you don't just say, you know what, I met someone like this before, so do whatever you want. There's no wrong answer here. It's like, you don't really care what they do, right? You don't care about them. And I think we lack training and discipline, as you said. Sorry, that was the word that Webster was talking about, discipline. But discipline in that, trying to discern, are they saying it because they care? And if they don't, if it's really not caring about you, then it's like, don't base your decision on that. You're basing your decision on in a vibe that's uncaring. It doesn't really care about what happens to you or not in the future. Not on purpose. That's just, obviously they're not doing it on purpose. But
no,
yeah,
no. But see, there it is again. We're talking about discussing consequences with love.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it look like if tomorrow you don't accomplish the things you want to accomplish in the day? At the end of the day, when you want to set yourself up for the next day, what would it look like for you to say, hey, these are the consequences of how you've spent this day. And that's okay. That's what you decided. I love you. Self, how do you want tomorrow to be different, if at all?
This week,
how
I tapped
would that
into
be different than beating up on yourself?
I tapped into that, and it was, people will think I might have been beating up on myself because I was crying a lot, but I was actually mourning the fact that I was ignoring myself like that, right? I was beating up by ignoring. It wasn't
There's
like beating.
love.
It wasn't beating up on it. It was beating up through ignoring, right? Of my actual self. And then I basically sat down and said, you know what? This is my plans. Again, you were saying trying to get stuff done for the day. I was like, this is what I wanted to get done for the day. But as I was crying and talking to myself, I was like, what do you want to do, man? I'm not going to make you do what I want or have planned to get done today. And basically, I answered a karaoke. So I went to karaoke for 5 hours straight by myself for the first time in months. So I did that. I was just like, you know what? It's your day. Do what the fuck you want. What do you want to do? You want to let loose with karaoke? Let's go. So yeah,
that's good, man.
So I did that. But yeah, I think there's, and it comes out in different ways. That's the problem. But for me, it came out like that, and a white mustache appeared.
I love your Santa stash. It's good. I really totally think when you get older, you should grow a mustache. That's fun.
Oh, someday. I probably don't grow it because my wife doesn't like facial hair, so it ruins my sex life.
Well, that's fair. If she should change her mind in any way, shape, or form, I will say, on gentlemen, on the topic of facial hair, it's not so bad if you let it grow in, and so it's a little softer.
Yep.
If it grows in too long, sometimes the mustache hairs go up your nose and they tickle, and that's no fun. So like a happy medium where it's long enough to be soft, but not so long that you're like massaging the sinuses of your partner. That's a happy medium. If you are considering growing facial hair and your partner's not a huge fan, let it grow out a couple of weeks and see if their opinions change. 5 o'clock shadow, a couple days growth, not so great. It feels really scratchy.
Yep. And for me, I'm just such a great kisser that it just distracts her no matter what length it is. So like she wants to focus on my kissing because it's so fucking amazing. So basically, yeah, she says no mustache, no beard because she wants the full BK kissing experience.
She gives you such great positive reinforcement for not having a beard. That's
she didn't
great.
say that, but that's what I believe. Sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah, ending. She didn't say that, but that's what I believe. I'm just a fucking amazing kisser. Sorry, it just distracts. You know. Why not enhance your skills?
Enhance my skills. I feel like that feels like it was a show for tonight.
Oh yeah, we're done on that. Yeah, we're done with that. We can do whatever the fuck we want now.
That was a show.
Yeah.
I wish I could pop these balloons. Hey, look, happy birthday, Monster J. Before we drop the show, maybe she's celebrating for her birthday. Yeah. Could be, right? So before we let go of anything on the show, let's make sure that we thank our patrons, our current amazing dungeon masters and mistresses. We've got, as always, MJ, Monster J. Mark, thank you very much. We've got It's Koala. We love you. Thank you. Sure Bear, we can't thank you enough. And Aliz and BK Paranormal, thank you for coming back to the fam. We're happy to have you back this month. Of course, we've got some backdoor pass lovers and an official Patreon lover as well. So thank you all just for being here for us. We love you guys very, 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 very much. If you want to join them, it's at patreon.com/sexytime podcast.
Yes. Extend podcast. And
Yeah.
that podcast. Yeah. I'll Linz, Shirley, Koala, Mark, Monster J, thank you so much. Just want to give my shout out love
we
to
have here. And everybody just that sends us questions, thank you. Webster Games, thank you for being here and for sending us some good questions now and then. We really appreciate that. I don't know if we're signing off right now, but I just wanted to make sure we did the thing.
Did the thing. You can't stop your professionalism. You just can't stop it.
I can't stop my gratitude is really what that's about. Oh, of course,
I'm grateful for your professionalism.
You get a special little shout out for just being so fucking consistent, man. For constantly subscribing to us on D Live, even though we haven't seen your face in many months. Feel free to pop in and chat if you're ever here and lurking. We fucking love you, man.
See you
if you're joining us and you're lurking, please join us in Pillow Talk and help us craft the next month.
See you next week.
Or, weird drawings. Yeah.
Next Tuesday. Stay sexy. Stay safe.
And don't get caught in public.
Thank you so much for coming along with us on this episode of Sexy Time. The party goes on after each show with unfettered access to your hosts in an uncensored and private live segment we call Pillow Talk. Become a Sexy Time subscriber to join in on the fun at patreon.com/sexytimepodcast. That's patreon.com/sexytimepodcast. It is always a pleasure to see you there. If you've enjoyed our company and would like to support us, be sure to tap that share button and spread the love. Join us again next week wherever you listen to podcasts for another Sexy Time. Until next time, this is the Mistress of Ceremonies sending her love. Stay sexy.